Welcome to UserAndI, the channel where I teach UI designers how to create user-friendly interfaces, and today we're designing headers. We're going to follow a similar theme that we did with our carousels video. We're going to take one image or a few images and we're going to create 3 different styles. I'm going to talk you through what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so you can get some inspiration on your next design or just learn a few more shortcuts. So to start, I'm going to import a high quality image. Then I'm going to create a circle just here. I'm going to bring that below our image. And I'm going to make that a mask, and I'm going to scale this up from the center. Perfect. And then I'm going to scale our image down in the mask. So what I'm doing here is just ensuring that we've got the right framing for our design. I'm going to scale that down a bit more. And then what I'm going to do is, using this tool here, I'm going to edit the shape and just make it a bit more of an interesting shape using these points here, just so it's not so uniformed. I'm also going to come down here. I'm going to amend our point type to asymmetric, which means that I can affect one side of our shape without affecting the other. Notice how this one is set to mirrored. If we do one thing on one side, it will affect the other. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to begin cutting out different parts of this image just to get some more colors in. So I'm going to draw a circle here, and what I'm going to do is select in both shapes, holding shift. I'm going to come up here and select combine shapes. And our mask now becomes a collection of this original shape and all the shapes we're going to add in this group here. So I'm going to continue just making some really cool shapes out of these, just so they're not so uniformed. I'm also going to scale that down. So I can get a bit more colors in there. And I'm just going to flesh out this shape here. I actually quite like it big. So I'm going to move that down. I'm going to get a bit more cut out of the hand. Maybe rotate that a tiny bit as well. Okay, fine. And then I'm going to come in here and just add a bit more shapes. Don't really have too much of a plan for these, I just know I don't want them so uniformed. Bring in some greens as well. I'm going to bring this shape over here. I do want to get that cut out of the hand, and I'm going to add one more down here, and I want this to actually be a normal circle. And I want it to also be part of the image. And I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to scale that down a bit more. Okay, we're going to leave that like that. And now I'm going to style the background. I'm going to add some borders, which are already white at 5 width. Then I drop down. I quite like the distance here, so I'm going to leave that way. I quite like the blur and the fact it's on the y-axis, so I'll leave that as is, and I'm just going to round off these corners. And then I'm going to set this to a gradient. I actually like that. I'm going to keep that light pink and it fades up to the white because my plan is I want to bring a bit more focus into this side of the image because this image is quite powerful, it's quite strong. So I know a lot of people will be focusing there, which is fine. So I'm going to have the color on the left side and you're going to fade out towards the top right. And then I'm going to begin adding our text in. So I'm going to say this, when I look at this image, I think beauty, I think e-commerce, I think fashion. So I'm going to go for get the summer look. And I'm also going to scale that up. And then I'm going to play with the line heights to make that a little smaller. I'm going to make that bold. And I'm going to scale up a bit more. Then I'm going to duplicate that. And then I'm going to go with from 29, 99. And I'm going to scale that down. I'm going to go for semi-bold and that will be all caps. I'm going to scale it down a bit more. And this shape seems to be overlapping. Well, I can actually just bring this above our shape, that's no problem. That doesn't solve my problem. So I'm actually gonna I actually quite liked it down here. I'm gonna scale that down. And bring that across. Okay, so now I'm gonna add a call to action and call that makeup, beauty, fashion, shop the range. Yeah, works for me. I'm gonna make that all caps, make that bold, and it's gonna be all white. Let's scale that down for now. I'm gonna add a rectangle around that. And I'm going to bring our text above it, just here. I'm going to group these and I'm going to rename that group CTA, short for call to action. And then I'm going to keep the borders. I'm going to scale it up. I'm going to go with white. I'm going to round these edges just here. And I'm going to set the fill to be a gradient again, but this time I'm going to sample this light blue. You see this really nice flower here that brings in some really nice colors. I'm going to sample the dark as the bottom color and I'm going to sample the light blue as the top color, but that's a bit too bright for me, so I'm just going to bring that across. That's what I'm looking for. It might actually still be a bit too bright for me, to be honest. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. So I'm going to scale this whole call to action down just a tad. And I'm going to increase the height of this. And I'm going to vertically align it in the center and horizontally align it in the center. And I'm going to group these as well. I'm going to make sure this is aligned on the y-axis. And I'm going to group both of these. I'm going to select this shape and vertically align it in the center. So if we hide the interface now, we have, I'm going to scale that down. We have what looks like this, which I'm quite a fan of already. And if we see how that looks full width, I always like to get this image of what my headers look like full width. I quite like that as well, actually. This is a really nice touch down here. I'm a big fan of that. I think I'm happy with that. I'm going to call that here. That's part 1 of designing headers.